Scott Douglas with Army Armstrong and Chris Chapman as we continue to review 1990 on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. If you were with us last week, we looked at the first half of the season. And Army, as we pick up really the second half of the season, it's kind of an era of returns. We'll see the return of Bigfoot 8 in a minute, but Bowling Green, Ohio started out with the return of King Kong.
That's exactly right. The King Kong we're looking at was actually put out in a barn. They said it's over, it's done with, because we're used to seeing the Awesome Kong truck. This truck's from the same stables. You can make one change a year. This was the change they made in order to keep the points intact, and they proved real quick it may be an old truck, but it'll still take you to the bank on Monday morning.
Steve Kane out of Killeen, Texas, driving for the Jeff Dane stable, one of the original monster truck gangs, and King Kong looked good in knocking off the Auto Value King Crunch of Scott Stevens.
This truck on this track was perfect. When the replay comes up, I want you to notice how it stays basically level. He just flies it over, it lands smooth. This was a win-win situation for the Texas team.
Now, Bigfoot 8 at this point in the season was still sitting out a ban that TNT imposed for 2 months to allow other trucks to catch up. But I thought it was interesting, not only at this point of the year, but even when Bigfoot 8 came back at times, the older trucks like King Kong and the Carolina Crusher continued to stay stable.
Scott, what it is each track, it's like any other kind of racing. You know, some guys do better on big tracks and do small tracks or asphalt compared to dirt or what have you. Each track has its own personality and each truck reacts different. So you're going to get a good day and you're going to get a bad day.
You know,
the Texas truck, it was a great day.
Well, here he wins a race even though he breaks the truck. And I think that kind of shows that this King Kong truck came to Bowling Green as a true player. And on the second day in Bowling Green, things would even get better. Here on this first day, while he broke, Steve Kane showed this truck could still run with anything on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge, at least for this weekend in Bowling Green. Wild run. There you see the parts flying out from underneath. Steve Kane, after this run, spent some time with Chris Chapman to talk about this old truck coming back and looking pretty good.
Steve, you and King Kong were running fantastic, and then the fate of bad luck struck.
Yeah, I threw both my drive shafts out. Come up and hit the bottom of the transmission pan, but other than that, I can get the rear drive shaft back in, you know. But I can't make it fast enough to, get back out there and run again.
How in the world are you running so strong? I've never seen a truck run that good.
Well, I just go out there and when the accelerator hits the floor, you hear this clunk, and that's where I hear it. When I hear that clunk, I know that's as fast as the truck will go. If I feel if the drive shafts hadn't broke, everybody out here would have been seeing the back end of King Kong tonight.
Army, he would end up hearing a lot of clunks on the second day in Bowling Green. We'll move to that action from June 23rd right now. And King Kong head-to-head with Bigfoot. Again, this is Bigfoot 4. John PIANT driving. At this point in the season, it would be about another month before the Bigfoot 8 truck would be allowed to come back.
During the interviews, he kept telling me the truck is running the absolute maximum super deluxe flat out. Cannot go any faster, any better at all. But he didn't need to.
Boy, he sure didn't. As you can see, he flat kicked the feathers on a Bigfoot number 4 right there. Convincing victory. Was really no contest as Steve Kane's King Kong dominated in that head-to-head matchup. So King Kong obviously rolling on this day in Bowling Green, Ohio, and that kind of shook the status up a little bit. Bigfoot came in trying to gain points on the equalizer, and here he gets knocked off by the old King Kong truck. This one really hurt Bigfoot at this point, but, as we documented last week, just John PIANT getting out here, the successes he had would help Bigfoot 8 later in the year run for the world title. Now, Equalizer was trying to build on the points.
Yeah, we're talking about PIANT going out. He's out, but the pressure now shifts over to this kid. He lines up next to the brand new GMC of Jesse Berge playing for keeps, and it turned out to be a wild afternoon at the office for the Equalizer and for Jesse Berge.
Jesse was just coming back with a truck that he had to put together after trashing the other playing for keeps, and look how rough a ride he gets here.
Even though they weigh 13,000 pounds, you almost got to treat them like a ballet dancer. Look at that. Boy, if you don't have finesse, you are going on your head in this sport.
He sure powered it back down. A nice piece of driving by the big guy out of Wyoming, Michigan, Jesse Berge, in the playing for keeps truck. We're going to watch it again, and at the end of the run is where Jesse had all the problems. As we talked at different times about the soft suspension of Bigfoot 8. This will show you what happens when things get a little bit too tight. It starts bouncing, and he has trouble getting it back down.
Yeah, the bad bounce is what got him. I never thought when I started doing this I'd ever relate Jesse Berge to a ballet dancer, but that's exactly what it is. You got to be smooth and cool to keep that thing upright.
More action from Bowling Green day number 2 brings Scott Stevens out in the Auto Value King Crunch Special to go head-to-head with John Moore's No Problem Ford Bronco.
You know, all year long, John Moore kind of been sitting back and not really flexing his muscle, but boy, he rolled into the Buckeye State looky here. He knows that these people are used to seeing some great motorsports at this Bowling Green Fairground. He was going to show them this Ford could really lay down a shot. Stevens made a good run. No problem. Had no problems with it.
John Moore and No Problem kind of showed us more this year than any other in the past that he, maybe more than any other driver, is truly in tune with outdoor courses. John traditionally not quite as strong indoors, but boy, outdoors, he can beat anybody. Army Armstrong talked with him after that victory.
John Moore, that had to be one of the best races you've ever run.
Felt good.
You're going to get King Kong in the next round, 2 bad boy Fords. What's going through your mind on it?
I'll have to go back, get ready for it, tighten a couple bolts. I think we can do it.
He's going to go to the left lane. I know you're going to go to the right lane. There's not going to be any excuses on this one. The best truck's going to win that next round, right?
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I picked this lane tonight, and that's the one I'm going to live with.
John Moore brought No Problem out to the semifinals against King Kong, but Steve Kane was awesome.
You know, like John Moore said, he's going to live with the right lane, but he's also going to die with the right lane. This kid from Texas was not to be denied this night in Bowling Green.
You know, I think what's significant here, Army, that we were recognizing at the time is that John Moore's No Problem was running well and running strong, running competitive, and King Kong completely blew him away. It was obvious Steve Kane had the truck that was perfect for this race course.
Yeah, Steve Kane came into this thing, and all weekend long, he just looked like the town bully. He didn't take anything off anybody.
But if he was indeed going to be the biggest kid on the block, he was going to have to knock the reigning champion off the top of the hill, because Equalizer and Greg Holbrook also were getting a feel for the truck on this course, and they put it in the finals against King Kong. What a monster smash this was.
Look at the lane Kong's coming out of. He's been going to the far lane all the time. He has lane choice, and he chooses this lane and puts a Chevrolet away.
A full-length victory over the reigning world champion Equalizer, and King Kong showed that this truck and this course were a perfect match as he came out of Bowling Green taking a huge victory and certainly building a lot of confidence for the Jeff Dane stable in Texas. King Kong left Bowling Green on a cloud. He didn't realize that cloud was about to become a cloud of smoke. Scott Douglas, Army Armstrong, Chris Chapman back on Tuff Tracks' review of the 1990 season. And Army Armstrong, I'll tell you what, certainly throughout our coverage of monster truck racing, our producer Mike Goss has put us in some pretty nice places, but it was hard to beat the combination of sending us to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for the 4th of July holiday. And we enjoyed great monster truck racing at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Outlaw didn't enjoy night number 1, however, when he smacked the wall during qualifying.
You know, these speedways are great for one sport, but what's good for one is not always good for the other. Remember Richmond, Virginia? Remember the wall? Same scenario right here. The wall 1, monster truck 0.
You know, and this course was different from any other in that there was not only the retaining wall, but also another guardrail wall. So the lane Mike Wine was in was actually a very narrow lane. There was room for error in the other lane because the racetrack was on the other side.
You could have error to the right. However, if you look at the replay come up, the Outlaw stops right in front of a big sign from a major oil company. There were all kind of literally obstacles in this particular lane at this particular track.
Notice that sign. It's not going to be there for a long time on this program. Anyway, Mike Wine had a rough ride, and then Army Armstrong got to talk with him about his problems at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Well, for about a year and a half now, Mike Wine and Nick Ross have said the only thing we need to be competitive is a new motor. You guys have got the new motor. You're making a horsepower, but now you got other problems.
Yeah, I underestimated the motor ungodly. I went from 800 horsepower to well over 1,500 horsepower. We just picked up a new sponsorship, our Super Winch out of Connecticut. Jeff Fowler out of Columbus, Ohio, just built us a beautiful, fantastic throttle response motor. Went blown alcohol injected. When I came off the first set of the cars, Army, the old motor, I could just hang on to it. I was not afraid of it at all to throttle it. I throttled on this one. She went sideways. I was hoping to pull it back out. I let off of it. When I throttled it again, I was on my side. The biggest thing in the world when you're on your side or knows you, as you know, is to throttle it. I throttled it for all she had, and she took me up and over the wall.
We understand you're not going to be able to make the first round tonight. Nothing to do with the motor. It's working good, but you're not going to be able to get a tire back on this vehicle.
You believe it or not, after all that wildest run and going over walls 3 foot tall and everything else, One tire messed me up. A 3-inch cut in a tire messed me up.
Well, you got the new motor. Now it's time to go bear hunting with the switch.
Yep, now we're starting to go switching in on it, and we're going to have to start carrying a spare drive shaft, and a lot of spare transmissions.
The Outlaw resting on the wall at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Mike Wine done on the first day of competition, would come back to race the second day of competition on the 4th of July at Myrtle Beach. David Morris, that's right, you're seeing the proper name associated with No Problem. The former Equalizer driver, the 1989 Driver of the Year, the guy who won the World Championship, came back to test the waters in a Ford truck running for John Moore.
Well, John Moore knows that he, in the near future, is going to have major back surgery. Whether he'll be able to drive in 1991, we don't know. As we come up with a replay showing this young man that he's chosen to go into the truck tonight won the World Championship in the Chevrolet last year, and John Moore is betting the kid has still got the touch that can put a Ford in the winner's circle this year.
Not only is it a different make in terms of body styles from Chevrolet to Ford for David Morris, it's certainly a different operation in terms of chassis and suspension. A whole different ball of wax in driving the No Problem Ford from the very soft coil-over suspension of the Equalizer.
You know, but in racing, a racer is a racer is a racer. Let's see if he attacks. Yeah, he comes out now. Back on the throttle. He's not really attacking the vehicle like he would the Chevrolet. John Moore's watching him. Scott, I think he made a good, smooth run.
He did indeed, but certainly he didn't hit it hard and launch it like you would see David Morris in any other run.
Speaking of launching, who's coming to the starting line now? I see some red lights, Scott.
Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger, continuing to fight the mechanical problems, came to the line against King Kong at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And you know the fans were on the edge of their seat for this one. The old warhorse, the King Kong truck, against the most popular monster truck in the world, the one so many came to see, Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger. Let's watch them go side by side. Letting it all hang out. King Kong billowing smoke, but running superbly. And it gave them a show at Myrtle Beach that they had to go really to the photo finish camera from TNT to sort it out between Gravedigger and King Kong, Dennis Anderson and Steve King.
You know, ironically, this took place on the 4th of July, and as you well know, there are some more fireworks in store.
Watch it again here as the King Kong truck comes up, launches, just can't make up the difference, and the Gravedigger holds on for the victory. But we'll see more King Kong from Myrtle Beach because he's about to go 80. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, as we review Tuff Tracks coverage of the 1990 TNT Monster Truck Challenge. The old Bigfoot number 4. This was the last competition of this truck before Bigfoot 8 was allowed to return to the TNT circuit. And this was one of the first runs for the Micro Machine, the truck that the Breen boys built out of Jefferson City, Missouri, and hired world champion mud racer Kurt Fisher to drive.
You know, Kurt Fisher did an awfully good job, as did John PIANT. A lot of these young drivers making a name for themselves, but PIANT really flexing the muscles on the Bigfoot team. The last time they're going to get points, he wants to get a whole lot of them to hand to Andy Brass.
John PIANT, Bigfoot 4, to this point, had done his job, remaining competitive, winning some races, not winning any overall events except for when Andy Brass drove the truck at Louisville Motor Speedway, but keeping his team in contention for the world title, and John PIANT did it very well. This was just another important victory along that road.
John, word is this is the last time we're going to have a chance to see Bigfoot 4. You're trying to take this thing out of here on a winning note, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. I'm kind of the rookie on this series as far as TNT is concerned, and I want everyone to know who John PIANT is.
They're definitely learning your name in a hurry. Each time you seem to be getting a little bit more confidence in the truck.
Yeah, before this series started, I took a month off with a neck injury, and I'm just now getting back in the swing of things. I had all that time off sitting and watching, and I'm ready to get back in the seat now.
You actually did that. You actually sat down and looked at videos of all the trucks that you're racing. You studied them just like a quarterback studying a defensive team.
Yeah, every week, every show that is taped, that we get to go back in the shop and see that, you know, even though Andy might have been running the race, I'm watching what everybody else is doing.
Army Armstrong, when TNT hands out its awards at the end of the year, there are also some awards for races. The Louisville Motor Speedway race we talked about was the race of the year. Well, this ended up being called the blooper of the year. I guess that's the best term we can come up with it. For me, it was the most harrowing experience of the year. I know that we may never see another run that I don't know if scared is the right term, but affected me like this one did. You just didn't know what the dickens was going on down there.
At this point in time, nobody knows the right rear suspension on King Kong is broken. The driver doesn't know it. Nobody knows it, but we're all going to find out, and you're going to see how right now.
We talk about pictures, out describing words. They're going to do it right now. Watch.
Left turn, Clyde. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and the Texas truck wound up on its lid.
For most of us, we never saw Steve Kane. There, you may have seen him on the picture, but most of us at the event at that time did not see Steve Kane escape from the truck and run out the back. We couldn't find him.
No, he had a fire in the truck. Now, I saw him coming down the track, was telling the camera crew where he was and everything, but he literally just skimmed right out the back window in the cab of the truck. He was okay. The truck was in bad shape, but the taxpayers in this county really had a problem when this one was over.
Compounding the fact that this is just the most unbelievable crash in monster truck history anyway, the truck lands on top of two brand new Horry County, South Carolina police cars.
You know, I hope the replay comes up here in a minute and you get a chance to look at what happened. The right rear of the truck moved. He was turning the steering wheel, but the truck almost had a mind all its own, Scott. He did not know that the right rear suspension was gone. When it landed, it just came around on him. He's walking over now. We need to get with him here.
Well, you know, you're right. We will see it again. But first, this was one of the most exciting interviews that we had all year just because we were glad Steve was able to give it to you, Army.
First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, Army.
You have any idea what happened?
When I come over that second set of cars, it got really squirrely on me, and it looked to me like I was going to hit for that wall, so I was trying to compensate for it when I was, before I'd hit the ground, turn the wheel a little bit. And I think I turned the wheel just a little bit too much, and, when she hit the ground, that front end really hooked up, and
it looked to me like when you turn the wheel, the right front hit the ground, but at that time, the left front wheel was up on the rail. Is that what could have thrown you over this thing? When you got the left wheel onto the rail, it looked like you're really in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's, I really don't know. Everything was happening so fast, I'd have to look at the video, but I'd say that'd be about right. That front tire hit that rail and everything.
Well, we've been talking in the sport about how you drivers have to do something that's almost unnatural. That is, when you get in trouble, you have to gas the engine. That's exactly what you did. I cannot think of anything you could have done different to get out of that situation.
Well, I don't know. I seen that sign coming up, and all I was trying to do was get it turned back over on its wheels, but nothing works,
I'm glad you're okay. We'll see you next week.
We'll see.
In 1989, Bigfoot did not run for the TNT World Championship. Instead, Bob Chandler's camp built what they felt was the ultimate, the new Stage 3 monster truck. And then Andy Brass drove it to dominate the 1990 winter portion. TNT banned it in the spring, and it came back in Flemington, New Jersey.
Bigfoot is back in town, and we're standing with the driver of Bigfoot, Andy Brass, a man that in this sport is under a whole lot of pressure. Andy, it's time to go to war.
Yeah, that's right. We've been out of the running now for about 2.5 months, and we've lost a lot of points, and me having to come back and get the points back to get back in the first place. There's a lot of pressure on me. I'm going to have to run the truck hard. I'm going to have to watch these guys, see how they're running, and really, kind of push the truck hard. It's going to be a little hard on me, but I think we can do it.
You know what so many people were saying, even when Bigfoot 8 was dominating during the winter months, was let's see what happens to him outside. Well, the other trucks did get an advantage. They had several outdoor runs. This would be the first one in Flemington, New Jersey for Bigfoot 8, and it was obvious that Andy Brass had some work to do.
Flemington, New Jersey is known as big block country. These people are used to seeing big horsepower. Well, they saw big horsepower having big problems. The chassis on Bigfoot was unloading on him, Scott. It was hooking left and hooking right, and they could not figure out how to make that truck go straight.
That was a disqualified run. Watch again as Bigfoot has handling problems trying to come up the second ramp.
In between the jumps, he tags the brakes right there. Now back on the throttle, but the front two wheels didn't hit the obstacle he was jumping. 8 goes on the trailer in the first round.
The celebrated return of Bigfoot 8 was a huge disappointment, a virtual nightmare for Andy Brass and the gang. Yet I know they felt good about one thing. The truck was back in action, and the only way to work the bugs out was to get the truck on the racetrack and figure out what to do next.
Again, the problem is the truck was unloading. The chassis itself, when it landed or when it settled, is like a sponge, but it was hooking left or right. Now, speaking of left and right, these guys going head-to-head now. You don't know where either one of them are going to wind up when they run side by side.
You know, USA 1 had so many ups and downs this year. This was truly the high. Steve Wilkie, USA 1, despite taking the fence out at the end of the course, recorded the victory. And what a big moment this was for Wilkie, for Everett Jasmer, for the entire crew, after all the troubles they had endured since winning the 1988 World Championship, to come to Flemington, New Jersey, and to take the Monster Smash final. It was a big win for Wilkie, and I know one that certainly gave him a lot of confidence to go on for the rest of the season.
Yeah, psychologically, this is the best thing that could happen to this team. Everett, Jasmer, and Wilkie, they've had a bear on their back, a monkey on their back all year long, but they proved they could shake it, and they could still run with anybody on any given night. USA 1, red, white, and blue, is still a player for the World Championship.
A huge win for Steve Wilkie and that team in Flemington, New Jersey. The second day of competition at Flemington saw Equalizer have some problems in qualifying. Equalizer and Gary Cook have been able to keep that truck together during most of the early summer runs, but here, mechanical problems started firing up.
Well, this showed me that the kid was good. The engine's located beneath and below the driver. The natural inclination would be to hit the brakes. If he were to have done that, the fire would have run right up underneath him. At this point in time, I was very impressed with Holbrook. He's a thinker. He will be a player.
He kept it going, just let the fire kind of burn itself in that situation, got the truck stopped down. But I guess maybe this is the forerunner of things to come. Although Bigfoot did not come back with a bang and start dominating, Equalizer began to experience more and more mechanical problems at this point in the season, and that would have a big impact on the World Championship points race. Talked about so many times that his war with Bigfoot, this may have been one of the highlights for Scott all year.
Yeah, Scott really came in with blood in his eyes.
Whoa! Thank you, Kevin! The motor right down, though.
Scott, how you feeling right now? Looks good.
Yeah, the run was good. It was probably the fastest run we done all weekend, but motor went away again.
Are you satisfied you made a good, clean run? You will be coming back?
Yeah, you know, we're real satisfied, man. Truck of the future right there, this old auto key car special just keeps on putting him on the trailer.
Well, I tell you what, the racing radio people take you right up in the middle of this sport, don't they?
And they show you, they brought you the excitement of how pumped up Scott Stevens was to beat that Bigfoot 8 truck. Ray Digger and Carolina Crusher in the Monster Smash final, and Digger gets another big victory. Army, you said last week that when Digger stayed together, he won. Another perfect example.
Yeah, when a guy would not break, he was definitely going to go to the bank.
Television's most powerful hour, reviewing once again the 1990 Monster Truck Challenge for TNT. With West Lebanon, New York's Lebanon Valley Speedway, the site on July the 23rd for this matchup between USA 1 and Rambo. This was just qualifying, and these two went head-to-head and wheel-to-wheel.
You know, Bob Chandler's talking about everybody wants to beat him. Well, if you got a Chevrolet, you want to beat USA 1, and Rambo can brag about that run for the rest of his life.
They banged together at the end. Steve Wilkie in the USA 1 truck and Bill Weaver and Rambo making contact. And you can see Wilkie gets to the middle. Does a beautiful job of correcting, but then both trucks come to the center of the track and collide. Wild run at West Lebanon, New York. It was a slick track, and that was a perfect example of just how slick it was. Steve Wilkie running over right now to check at that point to see if his run was legal. And, of course, Steve's never been one to be subtle about quietly asking a question.
No, Wilkie's got a short wig, babe. You know, you can light his fire in a hurry. He want to make sure everything is okay.
What's wrong?
I'm just making sure I hit the cars. Again, it's so slick out in the mid-range. I come off the first stack, and she went nose over. But his left front was coming in. You can see where he hit me with his left front tire. Everett's not going to be happy about that. But True Value Chevrolet, I'll tell you what, it's crazy out here. It's too slick to be good for anybody.
You all did come together. Could you tell how did that happen?
Yeah, his left front tire hit me right in the driver door. There's no doubt about it.
The crowd's chanting your name right now. We still, I don't think, have a decision on a winner. Can you tell?
Again, you just put the camera on the truck, guys. Thank you. True Value Chevrolet, Tuff Tracks, everybody that puts them on. I'll tell you what, it's great, and I wouldn't be doing anything else in the world. Thank you.
You know, Scott, it's an interesting point. The track was slippery, but Howie Commander and his crew had really done a yeoman's job of getting us where we could race it all. You know, this was track of the year last year. A big rainstorm came in about an hour before the event, but it was the same track for everybody. Some trucks adjusted to it, some did not.
One that did not. Bigfoot 8 and Thunder Chicken gets the biggest win in his racing career, knocking off the state-of-the-art Bigfoot number 8.
So the black cloud that was hanging over the Bigfoot team in Flemington, New Jersey a few weeks ago called chassis problems followed them into New York State.
You know, it was so interesting at West Lebanon on this still slick track that the newer exotic suspensions like Bigfoot's had so many problems, and here comes the old reliable Thunder Chicken just a clucking along to a win.
God, I think what happened up here was the big horsepower boys tried to play the fast game, and it just was not going to work for them. The track was slippery. The guys that adjusted won. Simple as that.
That's what makes TNT racing so exciting, as you've talked about so often, Army. Every week, every race, it's a different story. And on this race, on this one run, Thunder Chicken made the better adjustment. Kid Rary beat Bigfoot.
Yeah, there's an old song out. If you're going to take a licking, it'll be a Thunder Chicken. I think you can go back to Bigfoot people and start whistling that right now.
Yeah, I think this is what you call one of those miracles. I heard my truck started stumbling, and I looked over, and Bigfoot wasn't doing what he's supposed to do.
Indeed, Bigfoot went down to the beat that day, but there's always another day. The next day, the track was drier. It was a fast service, and Bigfoot came with both barrels ablazing.
Yeah, but look what happened on the end of the track. That's the second time on that run the truck hooked right. After the first set of cars, the driver had to actually tag the brakes, nail the throttle, and go for the end. Then when he went out the end, it hooked right again on him. The problem is still there, but Andy's learning how to drive through it.
No question about the fact that Andy Brass is not afraid of that truck, and he's not afraid to hammer.
Watch the replay. I'll point it out. Right here, he hits the brake. Now he's on the throttle, and he powers past it. But his work's not over because it hooks again.
Well, what a piece of driving to save that thing. Andy Brass and Bigfoot making some noise with a victory over Mike Wine and that Outlaw Ford. Well, the Outlaw would be able to come back under the fast loser rule, and we see him against the Pony Express and Anthony Fortier.
Well, the Outlaw team teamed up with the Super Winch people. They finally have the money they need to run fast. And believe me, that's going to be a winning combination. Trying to keep it up right. Showing he can run with the big boy.
Another superb save by a TNT monster truck racer, and I continue each week watching these guys to be amazed with their expertise and the way they can take this huge piece of equipment and save it like they do.
You can sum it up in 2 words. They're good.
No question. Watch it here, Army. Mike going all out now has to try and bring it back under control. Does a track like this, with all that room at the end, give a guy like Wine, used to running sometimes indoors, a false sense of security?
No, and there's really not that much room at the end. They can go on down and to the left, but there's still a wall down there. As a matter of fact, the camera angle we're looking at right now is from the finish line wall. You can see just how quick they'll run out of room.
Mike Wine gets it to quit bucking. It goes up on his side, but he pulls it down, and it's an impressive victory for Mike Wine and the Outlaw Ford.
You seem to be attacking the track right now. We haven't seen this in you. Is it because you're getting new confidence in you as yourself as a driver and the engine combination?
A little bit of both. I'm finally getting used to the truck. Plus, I called home. I talked to the owner, Nick Rossi, at Triangle Springs in Pennsauken. We just picked up a new sponsorship. It's Super Winch out of Connecticut. They just pumped in $25,000 into us for this brand new motor. I feel like I have to prove something to those people. They were kind enough to give us the money for this. I'm going to do my best for those people if I can. Super Winch out of Connecticut.
I'll tell you what, you impressed a whole lot of people. Lebanon Valley, we'll see you in the next round.
Thank you, Army.
1990 and the TNT Monster Truck Challenge now moves to Stafford Springs, Connecticut. And after what was a very successful tour of New York and New Jersey in the Northeast for the USA 1 camp and Steve Wilkie, it proved to be one trip too many to the Northeast, when a couple of weeks later, he came to Stafford Springs, Connecticut, and went head-to-head with the Clydesdale in early August.
You know, we've had an opportunity to run at some tremendous racing facilities throughout the country, and Stafford Springs is no exception. These people know racing. Look at the background. There's a big monster. That's appropriate for monster truck racing. It's got...
It would be a monstrous run for USA 1 as Steve Wilkie again ends up on his roof. Army, what happened?
The front end dug in again, and when it digs in, the tire will pull in, get caught in the frame. Wilkie's okay, but it just highs up. This is the very same thing that happened to Rod Litzow the very first time the truck went over. Now, Wilkie is kind of, you can read his emotions. I don't think it's the driver. I just don't. I'm sorry.
You know, the first time we saw Wilkie flip in our reviews of 1990, he was almost excited and pumped up about it. He's had enough at this point, you get the impression.
Well, he's got to keep making phone calls back to Everett Jasper. I wouldn't want to do that, especially as many times as he's had to do it.
The old truck ends up on its roof again. The topsy-turvy world of USA 1 takes another upside-down twist in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, August of 1990. Steve Wilkie starting to get used to landing on his head on the crunch of the week. Welcome back to Tuff Tracks, our second day at Stafford Springs, Connecticut, and Army, almost unbelievably, USA 1 was back in racing.
Well, you got to win the points championship. The only way you're going to do that is get points. That's why he's back in. And Wilkie put the word out, it will not be a hard run. He does get points for qualifying. I'm anxious to see just how hard he is going to run the truck. Wilkie went back to the truck after last night and wrote the word "can do" on the side of his hauler, and they did make it back. Look at that. He was driving it pretty hard, too, Scott.
Yeah, it was a big moment for Wilkie and the gang just to get it back. But day number 2 at Stafford Springs, Connecticut not only saw USA 1 with an improbable comeback just to make it, it saw no problem beat some people he's not used to beating, and it started with USA 1.
You know, when John Moore started flexing his muscle, this privateer decided to get real about this game, and real quick, everybody started to pay a whole lot more attention to him.
The victory went to John Moore, and no problem over Steve Wilkie in USA 1. Despite the fact that USA 1 was beaten up, it was a big win for John Moore. Mike Goss talked with him.
John, any win against USA 1's a good one.
That's right. You can never count the truck out. They worked real hard on it last night. Steve's good. You know, you never, even crippled, USA's a hard one to run.
How about your truck? I mean, do you feel like you've got an honest chance to do something out here?
Feels pretty good. We did a little gear change from last night. We topped the motor out last night. Feels pretty good. I don't know. It's we're going to run round by round and give it all the motor's got. Let's see how it comes out.
Good luck.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Steve Wilkie in USA 1 may have lost that race, but they certainly won in a lot of other areas just by getting back to the track and running. Chris Chapman's with Steve Wilkie.
Steve, a job well done.
Well, Chris, for True Value Chevrolet, you always want to do better. We did the best we could. When I left here, the fans weren't running for some reason, and I couldn't get a hold of Mark. And I left the starting line, I was making 240 degrees. But I think I give the fans, you know, something to remember me by, so to speak.
Are you satisfied? You've really been busting your butt after the past 24 hours. You got out there and you got through the first round.
Well, Chris, I want to go do it again. Any true competitor, anybody that's in our sport, they don't do it for the paycheck. And, you know, I do it for the fans and True Value Chevrolet. You guys, you know, it gives you guys a job, right? And it's really something. It's a feeling that I can't explain.
We'll get some rest and we'll see you next time.
Oh, you bet.
You know, Scott, he's kind of the Kenny Bernstein of our sport. How many times did he get his sponsors mentioned right in that interview?
He does, and hey, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Steve does a nice job.
You know, he was beat, but he drove back and saluted the crowd. You know, the True Value people, Chevrolet people, Glasses Paint, got to be tickled to death with that team.
After beating USA 1, no problem then whipped Scott Stevens in the Auto Value King crunch. That put him in the semifinals against Bigfoot number 8. He had never beaten this truck before, but that word never was about to go out of the vocabulary.
He was walking around the pit area whistling, "Do you believe in magic?" Yes, we do.
John Moore, and no problem, shot Bigfoot number 8 in the semifinals at Stafford Springs, Connecticut, and the no problem camp was going bananas. The head cheerleader was John Moore's wife, Heidi.
Heidi, did you think it could happen? I love it. I don't know whether it could or not, but it just did, and I love it.
There you see Heidi Moore, and obviously she's thrilled with the performance of her husband and her truck. Scott Douglas, Army Armstrong, and Chris Chapman with our review of the 1990 TNT Monster Truck season on Tuff Tracks. And again, as it has always been done before, the championship is decided in Louisville, Kentucky's Freedom Hall. Bigfoot number 8 coming in to try and catch and overtake Equalizer. But first, a brand new Carolina Crusher gives us a preview of 1991.
Gary Porter came out and proved us real quick. If you're going to win in this sport, you got to have what they call Custer shock absorbers. The off-road shock absorbers that for years have been used in the desert racing are now finding their way in the monster trucks. Bigfoot was the leader, but look at this Chevrolet.
Gary Porter knew the main thing in Freedom Hall would be the crowning of the new champion, either Bigfoot or Equalizer. And he just wanted to show everybody that, hey, when they crown the 1991 champ, I intend to be there. Army talked to Gary Porter about that brand new truck.
This is the first time I've had a chance to see the new truck, Gary. I am very impressed with it.
The truck seems to be working good. I'm going to have to start coming over the dirt hill a little bit faster, and I'm getting a little bounce down here at the end of the track. I'm loosening the shocks up just a little bit each run, you know, till I get it perfected.
Backing up, though, the 1990 championship had to first be decided before anybody could worry about 91. And in the semifinals, Bigfoot and Equalizer go head-to-head. Equalizer dies just off the starting line. Bigfoot gets the head-to-head win and takes over the season point lead.
Bigfoot busts out the finish line, and the Equalizer is set dead in the water. What happened? That could be the question of the year, Scott.
Equalizer's World Championship hopes are sitting there some 15 feet off the starting line at Louisville, Kentucky's Freedom Hall. Andy Brass comes up with a victory that virtually assured him the World Championship.
I want you to remember one thing. Normally, Holbrook and Cook are calm, cool, and collected. Let's see what happened during the interviews after this event.
First, though, Army, you talked with Andy Brass, who I think knew he had the World Championship.
Andy, you can actually feel the electricity in the air. Was there more pressure on you for that run than any run this year?
Yeah, it probably is. Like I said, you know, the points are getting so close, we really need them. And as we was coming into this round, I was just behind him just a little bit. So I figured, well, if I can get him this round, knock him out early, and keep on going, maybe we'll go ahead and get it to show.
Equalizer dived just off the starting line. You saw it a moment ago in the race. Greg Holbrook says that piece right there, the killer radio that TNT required him to put in the truck, detonated, killed his engine, and cost him a chance at the world title. The TNT officials claimed there was nothing wrong with that killer radio box, and that Greg Holbrook was just out of luck.
No harm, no foul. The World Championship was getting awfully close to Bigfoot.
Gary Cook, the owner of Equalizer, as Army mentioned a moment ago, normally very soft-spoken, he was livid, and Chris Chapman was able to talk with him.
Been mad at anybody beating me. That's part of the game. They beat me, fine, we'll come back and race again. But when the so-called safety equipment kills us, this is the second time it's happened to us in a major race, and you might say it cost us the point race. Nothing because of any fault of ours. The last time they said it was our truck, we replaced everything in the truck, come back to race again, and now it's done it again, and they say no, it's our equipment.
What would you like to see done about this?
I think I ought to rerun it. If he beat us, fine, but I think they ought to rerun it.
Have you approached TNT officials about this?
They just shake their head and say nothing can be done.
You know, the only guy, I guess, who really ultimately knows exactly what was happening every second was the driver of Equalizer, Greg Holbrook. So Chris Chapman worked her way down pit road to talk to Greg about truly an incident, no matter exactly what happened, whether it was the box's fault or something wrong with the truck. It was the incident that killed the title hopes of the Equalizer.
Greg, I don't know if our television cameras picked up your face when you came to the end of that track earlier, but you were hot. You were saying some things to Mike Speller. What went wrong?
That's twice. Their killer boxes sorted out and killed me on the line this year. They hadn't checked the boxes. I bet they hadn't checked nothing. The same boxes we've been running with all year. You can take and shake them and hear the parts rattling inside.
Do you believe that this could very well have cost you a national championship?
Yeah, because I pulled the box out and it started right up. I was sitting there turning it over with the box in. It wouldn't start. Pulled the box out, hit it, and it started right up.
Have you addressed this with TNT officials before?
This is the second time, and I've talked about it in between races with them.
What would you like to see done? Let's just talk about next year.
They're going to have to come up with some better boxes or keep those checked between every run, whether or not they're right.
Some very bad luck for you, and I'm sorry, Greg.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, the Equalizer camp was upset, but there was no denying that Bigfoot earned this world championship on the racetrack, and this win over no problem clinched the title for Bob Chandler, Andy Brass, John PIANT, and the entire team.
Well, how appropriate, because Ford Motor Company has a major assembly plant in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where this truck really started life. That's where it won the world championship. The acclaimed Bigfoot and Andy Brass. Definitely the hot hand for this year.
Before anybody tried to race these trucks, they called this the king of the monster trucks. And in 1990, he earned that title on the TNT World Championship chase. We congratulate Andy Brass, Bob Chandler, and the world champions, the Bigfoot Camp. I'm Scott Douglas for Army and Chris. See you next week on Tuff Tracks.